welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wealth.
All right, we're going to have a great day on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Already having a good time with one of our previous co-hosts. Look at that. And you're going to laugh because he actually helped start our show.
There I am, right there.
Over 8 years ago. Now, over 8 years ago, we started the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show for one reason, to guide you to personal and financial wellness, because this, nation was a mess. We're talking one of the worst, almost a depression, and we had to give you answers. And now, for 8 years, we've collaborated with great professionals like SteveCorn, one of our good friends. He runs Newhall Escrow out here. He's a true expert in the field, and we brought him here today to talk about where the real estate industry is today and something to be extremely careful of. It is a rampant issue that you need to pay attention to.
I mean, how scary is that? What we're going to talk about today is a way you can lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in just minutes.
Poof!
In minutes.
Seconds, yeah.
And so it's super dangerous, and we have to be super careful of it. And I guess we should just jump right into it because we're talking about wire fraud.
Yeah, man.
And we've talked about it once before.
We introduce our guest, sir.
You already did.
Kind of.
Yeah. You did. You went out of order. And it's okay. Yeah. We can go out of order.
I was
on
explaining
the show
who was doing the scissors.
Well,
again, SteveCorn with Newhall Escrow. And again, yes, I did. But I just want to make sure everybody knows our great guest today.
That's fine. And nobody knows better than an escrow company about wire fraud. Because who handles those things? At the end of the day, the 2 times usually in a transaction, hopefully just 1 time, but 2 times in a transaction where over the last, maybe 10 years, it's been 100% wire. In the past, you used to use personal checks, right?
Personal checks, cashier's checks,
things of that nature.
Yep.
There was fraud in those.
Yeah.
And so you moved to wires.
That's right. Well, the migration was personal checks in the beginning for earnest money deposits, right? And then at the end of the deal, we would accept a cashier's check, and then the banks started messing around with those, issuing what they call an official check, which was nothing other than a glorified personal check, but they were passing it off as an official check. And a cashier's check, and those checks took 5 to 7 days to clear, depending on where they were paid.
Is that a problem at the end of the transaction, considering nowadays you literally have docs and want to close the next day?
Well, not only that, but also, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understood is those could also be called back by the bank for up to 90 days if they suspected they were fraudulent.
That wasn't really the issue at the time. It's just that the banks were playing with their they're playing on their money, okay? Floating the money, and so now you go into a bank branch on Lyons Avenue or Santa Monica Boulevard, and you go in there and ask for a cashier's check, and the teller has been told, give them an official check. Even though they have a document that says cashier's check, give them an official check, right? And then they would come in my office and say, here's your cashier's check. I said, it says official on it. Well, I asked for a cashier's check. The bank said it's the same thing. I said, okay, well, it's not. So we had to go through this big old rigmarole, and I would get a big old argument with the bank, school their bank tellers on what the difference between the checks are, and the branch manager would say, yeah, you're right, we're wrong, here's your cashier's check. And then in the downturn, 2008, 9, and 10, those banks were closing up. They were getting shut up. So what happened was we were negotiating cashier's checks that were not being honored.
Wow.
Because because the FDIC was closing down these banks. Okay, so the industry said, all right, no more. If you give us a cashier's check, we're going to sit on it until we know it's paid, and that's another 7 days. And we don't have 7 days in a transaction from the time they sign loan docs, the time you guys are ready to fund. You're too efficient for the process. You guys are too efficient for the process.
We could actually get more efficient. We could actually potentially build that in, but in the industry whole, that's not
understood.
What's scary about that is people forget that a check is just a promissory note, a promise to pay. Yeah. Right, and it's if it's your personal check, it's your personal promise to pay on a bank drafted note. Because at the end of the day, the bank's the one who has to pay it. Cashier's check, official check, doesn't matter what you brand it. It's a promise to pay. And I could see where if banks were going out of business, that promise to pay is not worth anything.
So we decided. So then we transitioned to certified funds, which is the wire transfer, and that was the only way that a buyer could be assured that I could position them to be ready to close when we're ready to close. Now, with the wire transfer, we've had all kinds of wild stuff. So you got the terrorism situation going on, Terrorism Act. The federal government is watching every single wire transfer that's being delivered to a United States bank from outside the United States. So every single wire is being looked at, and they have this list of a watch list of known terrorists.
And countries even.
Yeah. So what happens is if you're a person who's originating a wire transfer in China, and you're sending it to the United States to buy a piece of real estate, and your name is identical to a name of a person on the watch list, or a variation of it.
Seen that.
The federal government seizes that wire. So a buyer says, "Hey, I just sent you the wire transfer for $500,000. Great." And we're waiting for it. Not here. It must be a problem. Waiting for it. Not here. It must be a problem. They don't notify us that it's on the watch list. We have to do some investigation and recon to find out, it's been held up by the feds. Okay, well, now you're screwed.
Because there's
22
Mike Smiths.
That's right. Well, whatever. Well, usually it's a name. It's a foreign name, or a deviation of a foreign name. Okay. Well, it could be a nationalist too, a name that's common in America that's on that list too. I know for a fact Smith is one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you get on that list so easily. I know a friend of mine misspelled my name one day trying to book airline tickets. He spelled my name PH instead of EV. Stephen. And my name got jacked up in a couple airline systems and TSA for a while. So it's easy for your name to get screwed up. But so fast forward to where we are today. So now we've got wire transfers. In the communication of those wire transfers between an escrow company, a buyer, an escrow company and a buyer, and just so the people know, the normal course of doing things, when you sign the loan documents, so when Don and Gino, Finance of America, sends Newhall Escrow Company the loan documents, and you sign them, which is part of the step before you close the escrow, we hand you wire transfer instructions and put them in your possession. Then your next step is to go to the bank, present them to the bank teller, and initiate that wire transfer. If we don't see you in person, and we do this electronically, where we have to email you wire transfer instructions, we have a protocol that requires you to call our office and validate the information we give you. We've added an additional protocol to that because of the recent activity, which I'll explain in a minute. That we have to find a way for you to identify yourself as a buyer with information that only we know. A password, if you will. What's happening is hackers are preying on real estate agents, in particular, their email accounts, and they're watching for communications to do with anything about money, and they're waiting to pounce at the right minute.
And they're amazing.
So we've seen this, and we're just for 2 seconds. Let me interject there. That the problem is, and we as lenders have a bunch of security protocols as well. Of course, being in the financial industry, we're heavily regulated. Well, realtors are not very heavily regulated at all. And so ultimately they're using Gmail accounts and Yahoo accounts and other free sorts of accounts that don't have any security. And if you're a hacker, where are you going to spend the most of your time? You're going to say, let me learn how to hack Gmail. Because I'm going to find thousands of realtor accounts in Gmails, thousands of financial
they're not going to mess with us because they're going to have to put some work into trying to get through our firewalls.
And they still have phishing. They have phishing scams and everything. Somebody sent us one last week. They sent us a copy of a purchase contract, and it said contract. What did it say? Contract and note attached or something. And we were like, I'm not expecting any contract for that real estate agent, so we didn't open it because we were sharp enough to know, hey, if we click on this,
calling that so-called agent.
We did. We called, left a message, sent an email, no response. So it's out there.
Well, so we have in the escrow business, we have the same thing. Where everything's secured, anything to do with personal information, it's all sent secure, and we have layers and layers and layers of cybersecurity measures in place. Problem is the hackers are getting through that too. I didn't get hacked. Last week we sent an email to another escrow company who was closing a sale for a client whose proceeds were supposed to be sent to me for them to close the purchase.
Got it.
That escrow company got hacked. They got hacked on their end. So that hacker intercepted the email, changed a bunch of account numbers, name of the bank. They received it. They sent the wire off, and $50,000 was lost.
Just like that.
Just like that.
And it's hard to detect because they can change one little letter, number, something in an email address. And you swear it says blah, 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 escrow company or blah, 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 real estate company. And they change one little thing. You don't think it looks all...
Well,
and they copy and paste
two V's look like a W in escrow.
But that escrow company didn't follow the protocol. They didn't call us to validate the information. They just did it. They just did it. You know what I mean? They haven't been tuned into, or they haven't paid attention enough to what they need to do to protect themselves and their clients yet. Now I guarantee you they are.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of small escrow companies that are popping up, and usually they're in-house escrow companies to real estate agencies. A real estate agency says, hey, I want to just capture some of that escrow revenue. They open a small DRE escrow, and they're really green, and they don't have a lot of management.
Green is not the word for it, man. These piece of people have no business being in that position. They're and I don't mean to be disrespectful to our industry. I'm saying I've got individuals that have worked for my company for 2 years, and they're entry-level positions, and they get poached by a guy that's opening up an escrow company because he wants to get that fat revenue from his transactions, and the next thing you know, that person becomes an escrow officer. It's like, you got 2 years on the job. Well, 2 years of my company is going to be probably 4 years with somebody else.
Still green.
But yeah.
How long you been doing this, Steve?
Yeah, 30 years. Right. So, but the point is, and those offices are not managed. There's nobody in a management capacity that's sitting there watching it day to day.
I know you look over everything on a weekly basis.
I watch it daily, minute by the minute.
Meetings every week, and making sure that, hey, here's what to watch out for, what's not, let that happen again. Like you said, if they're not managed, you're at risk. Because a lot of you out there will think escrow is escrow. Title's title, lending's lending. This is a proven example of why it's imperative that you work with a true professional. And Steve is putting the protocols in place with Newhall Escrow to make sure that you have a special code that only you and him will know, so that the wire fraud that is rampant throughout the country is protected, and we appreciate that, Steve. That's really cool.
Even if it's annoying, right? Yesterday I was setting up a new account to pay for a mortgage, and it's like, what was the color of your first car that you got when you were 16 years old?
Then it popped up again, and then it sent you a verification, a code, and then you got that, and then after another screen, you're like, another code? And it sent another code to your phone.
Oh, that was for our 401k.
Yeah.
Don also sits in the office next to me, so every once in a while he'll hear me going, damn it, passwords! It's frustrating.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It's for our own security, it's for our own good. And
so we're taking measures to ensure the public safety, and we're doing everything possibly can to ensure that your money is safe. Protocols, I mean, I'm a walking target, man. I got a bullseye on my back and on my forehead, and so after 56 years,
birthmark.
I know. Thank you. But I say that to your point, Gino. Not all escrow companies are created equally, and I know that there's a lot of people in the business right now trying to get that piece of the pie. But we've been fighting this battle for 56 years. Right here in Santa Cruz Valley, Antelope Valley, San Fernando Valley, and parts beyond, and we are not created equally. So be careful. You as a buyer and you as a seller have the legal right to pick your choice of escrow provider. It's your decision, not your realtors. I know that's not very popular in our real estate community, but bottom line is, if we're good at what we do, there shouldn't be an issue. The problem, so you have the right to select who to do business with.
On that note, how do they get a hold of you, Steve?
Definitely call us at 661-259-3450, 661-259-3450, or newhallescrow.com.
So maybe this is a generalization, maybe yes or no, but first layer filter, are you DBO or not? First thing, one of the first.
I'm DBO,
right. Yeah. One of the first few questions to ask about the escrow that's being suggested. If you're not DBO regulated, you've lost a lot of regulation.
Be careful with that, though, because a lot of real estate brokers are going DBO, because that's Department of Business and Oversight, which used to be the Department of Corporations. So a lot of brokers who are trying to open up escrow divisions in their companies, their agents are saying, but you're not DBO, so I'm not going to support you. They go, okay, well, I'll go DBO then. And they go through the licensing, and they go through all the fees and all the stuff that goes with it.
The paperwork.
They are held to a higher standard, but the day-to-day
it's
still the same.
Right. Gotcha.
Still the same.
All right. Hey, great stuff, Stevie. Again, SteveCorn, owner of Newhall Escrow, been in business for 54, 55, 56 years. Woo, long time. He started when he wasn't even born yet. Family-owned business, but Steve's done a great job running it. Steve, stick around. We have Felicia Grady coming on, because I love to talk about the state of the real estate industry right now and where we are at, from two great experts. You want to stick around, Steve?
Absolutely, I'm here.
All right. Stay tuned for the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Remember, you can always find out more at donandgino.com.